If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to leave up holiday decorations year-round. Others have the need to use their garage as practice space for their new metal band. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
If you're spending 20 hours a day telling yourself you're not worth it, you're not going to get it, everything is bad, what is going to happen? You're just writing your own future.
Good afternoon, good day, good evening. I don't know what time you're listening or where you're listening from. It's your boy, your host, Ron Tillman, and you are with me for another episode of Walk in Victory. Speaking of victory, walk.
Warning, this is a public service announcement. The Walk in Victory podcast is where we have conversations purposed to evolve lives. You may not want to evolve. Then tune into another bleeping podcast. Everyone else, enjoy the show. And here's our host.
You're not getting on yours.
Good day, good evening. I don't know what time you're listening and or where you're listening from. It's your boy, your host, Ron Tillman, and you are with me for another episode of Walk in Victory. Speaking of victory walks, you have to take all here and now into our consideration our mental health, especially in this climate. So what's going on around us? It doesn't matter if you're red or blue or whatever. The hyperbole that's going around Social Security, mass firings, deportations, on top of all of the other stuff that you got going on in your own personal life, brings up angst and anxiety. We have employees that are looking for employers that's looking for employees, people not showing up, people just scared, they don't know what to do, and how we deal with the mentality. I just got through teaching my class, and I was talking to the my seniors. When I first started teaching yoga movements, I thought it was about the physical body. That's the external. As I got better, I started to realize that it was the non-material body. That's the part that you don't see. If I can think myself to be strong, then I'll be strong. If I think that I'm weak, then I'm always going to be weak, even if I have the physical strength. Just having a body. I grew up in the streets, and I'll bring myself. I've seen guys come out. We used to call him Cotton Diesel. Still just Cotton Diesel. He come out, he got the stance, he do all that. And the little boy, little skinny dude, me, and him, because in his mind, her mind, they're Cotton Diesel. They strong. Boom! It might not be just one boom. It might have to be a combination of booms. Because when you small and foot, you can do certain things, hit them in the ribs, and then so everybody go for the smallest part of the head. Not showing y'all how to fight, but I'm just telling you what happened. And you'll see the big guy wiggle away because internally, maybe he didn't strengthen his core. Maybe his arms is too tight and he can't extend. It's a lot of things that go into it. So what I'm saying is the same thing with our mental health. Yeah, you may not have came from a prestigious family. You may have not don't have a lot of money in your bank account, but how are you approaching life through the lens of what it is that you already have? Because we all bring something tangible to the table. Use your tools. It could be your agility. Use your tools. It could be your strength. You could be the cock diesel dude, but learn how to extend them arms, learn how to keep a person up off you, and learn how to take some body blows. Sing, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me.
But so when we talk about mental, the mentality, we're going to dive deep into that. I want you to express to our audience what it is that you do and what it is that you've been through to get you to the place where you are one of the masters at helping others
Mhm.
conquer these things that we just elicited to.
So, in a nutshell, I am a emotional intelligence expert. In last 5 to 7 years, the explosion in digital world has trained most of us to not focus more than 12 seconds. Okay, what is the least amount of time that you can focus? 12 seconds. Well, in 12 seconds, you can take 2 breaths, right? And that's all you need to start your leadership journey, to start your we get so hung up in what we desire to get in the future. We get so emotionally carrying the bag of every experience we have in the past that we forget the fundamental human present experience that matters, right? So
Mhm.
I help cultivate minute by minute presence power, a superpower for leaders and teams, and through the frameworks that I have developed for both personal as well as organizations to get them to two simple things. One, understand and realize what is your purpose.
Mm.
What is the best you have to give to others? There's always something. You just have to think a bit, work a bit, and you get out of there. There's a first ever assessment out there that we have started teaching people on finding purpose. It's a 20-minute assessment, and one session, 90 minutes, we can sit down and write your flywheel strategy. So I just launched my first book, Ascendancy Awakened. One thing I've learned is use of words that sticks. And I had to be very precise of why I chose certain words. So the book I released is Ascendancy Awakened, a surprising path. It is surprising path because you already have it. You just have to take that true breath and come in the presence. Check in with you and come in the presence. Your point of mindset. You can have all the body, you can have all the ribs, right? But if you don't check in with yourself every
Yeah.
moment,
You get knocked out.
you're gonna get knocked out.
So there was a famous fight, and because we're talking about mindset, Muhammad Ali was fighting, and I don't know why I'm going on this whole boxing rant, but I'm pretty sure they come together. And I trust my energy. But Muhammad Ali was fighting George Foreman.
Mm.
George Foreman was knocking people out. Boom, boom. Muhammad Ali put up his guard like this, and George Foreman was hit. But how long could you do this? How long could you just hit
Right.
and swing and
Mhm.
swing? Before you know it, George Foreman is tired.
And then he gets one knock.
Psychologically, he said, I'm hitting him with everything I got, and he won't go down. Muhammad Ali, like, I got him where I want him. So it's a thing of cat and mouse, right? When we
Mhm.
talk about mindset mentality, because one guy is saying, I'm exerting all of my energy. The
Mhm.
other guy is saying, I knew that if I could get him past a certain moment. So I teach mindfulness and yoga. I'm going to say, go where the pain threshold is at. And then we're going to take micro movements next week, see if you can get past the threshold. But if you can't, it's okay. It may take 3 weeks,
It works.
it may take 4 weeks, it may take 5 weeks, but we're going to keep moving towards the pain threshold, moving towards the traumatic experience in your brain.
Mhm.
And then when your body tenses up, now we're going to start identifying what happens in your gut, what happens in your
Right.
back, what happens in. So when we talk about micro movements, how much can we get out of those micro breaths?
Yeah.
Because I know I'm saying micro movements, and now we move. How much can we get out of the micro breaths so we can start identifying where the trauma lays in our
Mhm.
body? We all of our bodies have trauma.
Absolutely. And it is such a simple process,
Yeah.
right? Human body is the best engineering marvel ever built, right? To
Mm,
your point, each cell in our body has its own brain, right? So when you talk about trauma, when you talk about that pain that exists in your different parts of your body is connected to an emotion and a thought in your brain.
mm,
So every time you take that break and self check in for 2 seconds, the goal is for you to become the observer and not a participant, right?
mm,
And when you bring that concept, when you bring that concept to life with people as a leader, when you bring that concept, if you get in a meeting and the statistics that we have done research with 10,000 plus hours, and it's so disturbing, 75% of leaders in corporate life, no matter what kind of industry, no matter which country, because my program is all over the map, no matter at what level, 75% of leaders are not present in the first 5 to 10% of the meeting. Think about that,
mm,
right? It is not only loss of productivity, it is disrespecting to the people who have come prepared to present you something, right? And we all know the first few minutes interaction creates the quorum for rest of the meeting or rest of the show. You have to gather and connect with people. And how will you do it if you have not checked in with yourself?
mm.
Right? We all live our life in autopilot all day long. I mean, the last coffee you had, do you remember the taste, the flavor, the temperature? No, you don't.
No, no. I was watching a movie, and the guy said it was called The Menu. It's a bit of a dark movie, but
Mhm.
in the beginning, he says, "I don't want you to eat the food.
Yep.
I want you to take your time, absorb
Mhm.
the flavors, the mixtures."
Mhm.
So this is what you do. How did you come about to get to this place? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. It I think the formation of the proper program started in late 2020, early 21. So I was chief technology officer in a company, and we had a full blown ransomware attack. And with the right mindset, with the right team, and the right partners, we were able to come out of that in 30, 40 hours without paying ransom, right? So that was a big thing. And it is peak of COVID. And then we had to orchestrate the hundreds of people who are working from home, right? How to change their devices so that it's all clean now. And, it was a lot of work. But what happened after that, I got invited in a podcasts and interviews. And after the fifth or sixth interview, I had to sit down and think through. We're not traveling at that time, so it gave me enough time to reflect. The type of questions I'm being asked, it is very common sense for me why people are asking this kind of questions, right? And then I started looking at a very early age, 13, 14 years old. I was a very aggressive kid growing up. And my parents introduced me to Indian percussion music, classical. And I had already done postmasters of classical Indian percussion by age of 13, 14, but my aggressiveness was not going away. So they had me go to Tibet to a Lama, and really 2.5 months in summer, I spent my time learning mindful practice. But that became a second habit for me. I never thought that, it would be so impactful. Fast forward, when I started looking back in 2021, that was not the only incident. I saw how there were multiple incidences where I had gone through something that was very different just because of the techniques that I could use. And the other thing I observed interestingly, every time I had a success in building a powerful team, I had taught every one of them micro practices. And that's where I brought everything together as a framework.
Yeah, but what's funny is like, I don't want to out your age. How long have you been practicing?
30 years.
Sorry, 30 years. So I've been close to the same 30 years. So I started in a different, but it's still all the
Mhm.
same. We think that because we see through our lens,
Right.
we think that everybody knows this. This is going to go off the beaten rails. How do you feel when you see these gurus taking these simple practices and making them more complex, doing 30-day trials, seminars, and getting all, so I don't want to project my feelings or thoughts. But how do you feel? Then I'll project my feelings afterwards. I want to get your feelings.
So I'll put it this way. I always teach everyone to learn to appreciate limitations of others. I don't want to say anything that hurts anybody's shop, right? That's how they are earning their bread. That's how they are earning their livelihood. So I don't have
You're not
right.
hating.
Right, so I'm not anything against that. But the fact about mindful practices, it starts with simple breathing. It's not about dancing and rotating and getting into postures on your head. Right? I would rather have you go and do gymnasium exercise. I would rather have you go do a belly dancing, right? Things that
Because it still can get emotion out. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
things that you can get the emotions out. And see, the I don't want to use the word frustration, but it's very close to that kind of definition of frustration when I get.
Mhm.
When people come to me and I start talking to them, oh, I have been doing yoga for 3 years and this is this. I said, okay, if you have been doing yoga for 3 years, can you do me a quick favor? Can you just do a simple 36-second box breathing? What is that? Can you just take a breath, count of four, hold for a count of four, release for a count of four, and hold for a count of four? Just do it 4 repetitions. Have you ever done that? Oh, I never thought about that.
So, and everyone, so this is important, and I want to slow down right here because this is where we want to get the meat out of the bone.
Mhm.
I didn't learn the importance of breath
Mhm.
early on in my journey. But when I learned the importance of breath, because I had really good teachers,
Mhm.
the first breath that you learn before you get any complications is what they call box breathing. And why, Singh, do they call it box?
They call it box because two reasons. One, that's not a. If you go back to the history of yoga and meditation, it's called something else, right? But it's called box breathing because it is like a box for each side on four, and you're doing it 4 counts. So it's like, and you have to do 4 repetitions, right? That's one full cycle. That's why it's called box breathing. I would say I have done this from the stage. I've done this in seminars. I've done this in workshops, in one-on-one coaching. If you become honest with yourself and take the first box breathing full cycle, 85% of the time you will realize how loud your brain is, right? If I ask someone just to close your eyes and inhale and exhale and just feel your breath, nothing else, you will see how much data is being processed in our brain every microsecond, and we are not using it. We are not using the power of the senses that we have been given.
It's funny that you say that. So today I was doing the class, right? And I have my seniors and I'm teaching them balance. So I was like, put all of your weight on the heel of your left foot. So we breathe in, lift the right foot off the ground. They could lift the right foot off the ground without the chair. They seniors, so it's supposed to be chair yoga, but I'm not going to be there doing chair yoga. Like, let's do some, let's get some movement going on, right? And but when I say close your eyes,
Yeah.
the very thing that they could do with their eyes open, they couldn't do with their eyes closed.
No.
And it's the same movement, it's the same breath,
Mhm.
it's the same. What happens when we close our eyes? Even taking that box breath, we're going to use that. That's going to be our foundation.
Yeah.
Taking that box breath, when when now they start to close their eyes, what happens to the mind? The mind starts to do what?
Okay. So the mind starts to excrete
I like that.
nervousness because here is a foundational thing on that, right? And it's a very, very, very basic but very important thing people forget. Even though we are living on autopilot,
Mhm.
right? One of our senses is doing the rail guard for our life. And for people who have vision, the eye is doing that for you, right? So the first alert that you get something wrong in your autopilot, it's through your vision, through your eyes, right?
Mhm.
So when you close your eyes, you just let go of your guards.
Mm.
And the brain is saying that, hey, where is my guardrail? I cannot run on autopilot. So the moment your brain is now breaking out of autopilot, it's trying to go into everything that it has ever calculated, ever thought, ever recorded, to figure out how to react to this, right? Because your eyes are closed. You're not
Yeah.
sleeping, you're awake, right? Now, at that point, when you focus just on the air coming in and out of your nostrils and forcing your brain to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, that is the training. That is the first mindful training
Yeah.
that you gave your brain to come out of autopilot. Think how effective your hour will be if every start of hour you checked in with yourself just by that, right? You turned off the autopilot of your brain.
And focusing on the breath.
Yeah, by focusing, by closing your eyes and focusing on the breath, the moment you close the autopilot of the brain, what does that mean? You have all the information being registered from all your five senses to use in the moment. And if I do this exercise, right? Sometimes I'll meet people at cafeteria or having coffee. This is a very common exercise. I recommend you to try it. So it's fun. So you go to a shop, you sit down, you get your coffee, right? 2 or 3 people, and then I will ask them to do this exact thing for 36 seconds. And I'll ask them, don't open your eyes after that, right? Now you from your nostrils, move
Yes.
focus to your ears. And you can very quick, in that 36 seconds, you can listen to multiple sounds that you were not registering before. So it is very powerful. It's just that how do you go step by step, one step at a time, micro practices, and make it a life that you're supposed to live in the present. And that's another frustration I have.
Go ahead. There was another frustration. I have another question, but I'll wait for your frustration. I want to hear these frustrations.
So the other frustration I have is whenever I sit down with people, or a very common statement you will get, hey, that is not my past experience. That is not I have planned for future. I always say, okay, forget past and future. What are you experiencing right now?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm glad that you brought that up. But let me get my first question out, because now
Sure.
you diving into some stuff that we're about to get. All right, anybody who's listening, if you don't want to get nerdy, then turn it off. But we're about to get deep and nerdy. Can we get deep a little bit, Singh? I got you
Yeah,
for another.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So we're conditioned in America. We're primed to get into the want mentality. What do you want to be when you grow up? The word want is a low vibrational word. Although we're talking about micro movements, you're helping the person to get out of a want mentality, which is always focused on past or future,
Yep.
into an M mentality,
Okay.
which is focused even for 2 seconds
In the present.
in the present.
Yeah.
It's so difficult for us to get focused on the M mentality from a want mentality, because everything we consume is either honoring something that happened
Mhm.
or excited about an expectation.
Expectations. Yeah.
And if I'm focused on something that happened, the Holocaust, this, that,
Mhm.
so the want mentality will always keep us in angst.
Mhm.
When you look at the culture, when you look at the things that's going around in the culture, what, how you chip away, because we're talking about micro movements, but we still talking about movement,
Mhm. Yes,
because micro
absolutely.
movements move into accelerated movement. How do you chip away? What are some of the tools and techniques that you had to learn to articulate to people that's always looking, that lives in want?
Right.
I want to get this. I want to.
So I think that it's a two-part, very deep question there, right? So the first part of that is talking about the way we are conditioned. And it's unfortunate that in today's day and age, with all information available to us, the only time we pause is when something bad happens,
Funerals.
right?
Yeah.
And when I say bad, not in sense of relativity bad, right? An accident happens, everybody stops. Everybody wants to see that. But if there is a cheerleading going on, only people involved in that event will be watching that, not people who are just passing by. Why? You don't want to enjoy, you don't want to participate in the fun things that's happening in front of you. And you just want to focus on things that brings suffering to someone, right? So when you talk about conditioning, it's very deep conditioning that we have to start undoing using those micro practices, right? So that's one part of it. When you talk about tools, there are two very specific framework that I always have people use. And I believe in transformation in action, right? So I'll give this tool out to your audience that's listening today. You can use one of two methods. The first method is going through a proper framework, right? So there is a leadership compass that I have put together. It has got four cardinals. The first cardinal is presence power. The second cardinal direction is emotional agility. The third one is cognitive clarity. And the fourth one is action, right? So if you just stay with the concept of micro movement and micro exercise, micro breathing, and for that 2 seconds, if you can be present in the moment, right? You will have ability to modulate your emotions. The moment you are able to modulate your emotions, you are able to have clarity in your thought. And whatever action you take will be transformational. So that's one. Then people tell me, this is a very common question, by the way, that, okay, what is that I can do on a daily basis? That's not like I have to, take out the yoga mat every hour, or I have to go to a retreat, or I have to write a book and a novel. I said, no, no, you don't have to do anything. Just start doing this. Start doing 6 times in a day. Put a reminder on your clock. Let it be at least 1 hour gap between each exercise. No matter what you're doing, when the clock rings, just stop whatever you're doing and ask yourself two simple questions. What is the outcome of this activity that I'm participating in? And what else I could be doing if I was not doing this? Just this one exercise, you'll be amazed how many leaders and team members have come and told me that you took care of my digital addiction. Because it tells them next time you pick up something to scroll, you should be first question should be, what am I getting out of it? You're searching for something, you're trying to find something, you're doing some research. Those things are pertinent. But if you are just gazing for 12 seconds every 12 seconds, you're just moving your finger without being actively present. See, even then you are on autopilot.
You're on autopilot, yeah.
Right? So what else I could be doing when I'm not doing that? So that's first thing. Whatever that thought is, take a piece of paper, and I say, but just take an index card and write down, in that moment, I am grateful for 3 words.
Yeah.
So by doing this exercise, what you get, think about the cardinal directions I talked about. The moment you do self check-in, right? You have control on your emotions, clarity, and you did not waste time. You put your time to do something creative, something more affirmative, something better. I was giving this workshop, and I talk about my progress framework. So progress is purpose, reflection, organizing, grit, resilience, empowerment, support, and self-discipline. And the reason I had to put that framework together is because in today's day and age, with everybody has everything available on their fingertips, but the problem is they are looking world from their eyes, what you mentioned earlier, right? They are looking from their viewpoint. So they can create a different definition altogether. And if I'm working with a team, then I have to bring the entire team to that level. So I create that framework. Now, purpose is, what is the best you have to give to others? That is your purpose in life, right? Reflection is when you start doing that micro journaling, is what I call it, that small journaling. I check in every hour or journaling. And then comes organizing. Organizing is, what are the small things that you can do in your life on a daily basis to make a difference? So I'm doing this workshop with traveling nurses. Okay. This is about a year back, right around, I would say, spring last year. And I go through this whole framework, and one of the traveling nurses says, "Hey, Singh, I'm a Christian." I said, "Yeah, sure. Go ahead." So I am the sole bread earner in my family. To get to my next level where I can truly get to my purpose, I have to do some certification, but I have to go and read and learn some things. I'm running always with my traveling job, and I don't have time to participate. I'm sure you guessed my question. So my question is, how do you travel? Oh, I drive, or I take a train or a bus, whatever it is. I said, okay, what do you do in those 2 hours?
Nothing.
Right? Can those 2 hours
Effective, yeah.
be repurposed, right?
Yeah.
So listening something again and again and again. If you listen to a chapter 3 times, you'll remember the entire chapter, for God's sake, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny that you said that, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing. Yo, you guys don't understand if you apply a little bit of this stuff that we just talked about. You just got a masterclass for free on how to better yourself. And we're going to talk about the book and all of those other things too. But people want to change overnight. So the phenomenon of what you're talking about, micro movements, you're not saying it won't transform you. It just won't happen overnight.
Mm-hmm.
So we repurpose our time. I'm working on a book, and I did a class called The Mindful Marketer on the Listenable app. And one of the things that we discussed doesn't work for people who if you're a construction worker, if you're a musician, because your time frame is really stuck in certain form.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to think outside of that. So you can be, my first business was construction. If you ask me to hand you certain tools, I don't know it. My business was construction. I didn't have to learn how to lay bricks.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference in mindset.
Mm-hmm.
If you gave me a job right now to this day, all I would have to do is go peruse around Home Depot and look at the lumber prices for about 20 to 30 minutes, and I can give you an estimate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need 3 days. I know what it takes to do a job. Because when the lumber prices go up, that's what else go up.
Mm-hmm.
The labor prices.
Yeah, exactly.
So you just add that, oh, okay, this is what we have. I don't have to call them, hey, how much you want? I can tell you right now, this is the estimated price, because we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about estimation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you know how many micro movements that I had to get to that place where that
Right.
muscle memory is now there?
Mm-hmm.
So talk about how the micro movement take you from the journey,
Mm-hmm.
bring the journey. If I bring you into my organization, somebody listen and bring you into the organization, how many days of journeying do you spend with them? Hours, moments, minutes, and what do they? Because I know you take inventory.
Mm-hmm.
What are the senses when you finish?
So, couple of things on that. That's again a fully loaded question for me, because there are multiple parts to it, right? So, I'll try to go through the way you started. People trying to change overnight.
Yes.
I can almost guarantee, I can almost bet and challenge, and I'm open for any individual to take this challenge with me. If you commit to doing just two things I just said, that every hour you do a check-in and you write one sentence at that point, and you do that for 3 straight days, then I want to sit down with you and go through the inventory. In that inventory that you documented yourself, you did it, nobody else, you are doing it. When you have checked in, you are doing it in your consciousness, right? Not on autopilot. That tells the path that you should be on, right? So when I get involved with individuals or teams, the very first step is some kind of baseline, because I believe in stats, I believe in data. Anything that cannot be measured cannot be improved. It's as simple as that, right? So I had to create workbooks and tests to start creating baseline of stress. One interesting fact there is, any company where the senior leadership has got a higher stress level individually, that company is not performing financially.
Mm.
No matter who is humming up and how good everybody is.
Yeah.
If the senior leadership team has a higher stress on that baseline questionnaire
Everybody
we do,
stress. Yeah.
financially they're losing. Think about it for a second, right? Second, if the people leader in the organization, people leader, not necessarily a position, a person that has responsibility of managing people in the organization, if they don't have clarity in their own purpose,
Mhm.
right? They are the most, what we term as polluting leaders. They are all over the place. They cannot give a clear direction. They are only good for micromanaging.
Yeah. Because they want to make sure that we call that cover your own ass.
Yeah, yeah. CYA. Yeah, that's CYA leadership.
Yeah, I'll make sure my neck is secure. It's like,
Yeah, right? I mean, if you just look at those fundamentals, right? That's why every engagement that we have, we start with those two simple tools. One is a purpose assessment for individuals and a stress assessment, right? It's black and white at that point.
yeah. And this is why we at Walking Victory have conversations to help you evolutionize. It's black and white. Stress, or what's the other one? He said stress, and the other one I can't.
Purpose.
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 If you don't know, first of all, so when I was doing my Chopra certification, we went through this whole session on dynamic self.
Mm.
I started preaching when I was 24. And one of the heavy theological lessons I learned is the iamic nature of Christ. So we
Mhm.
talked Christ, the I am. And in the book of John, this is not religious. I have a religious podcast,
Mhm.
one of the streets podcast. But that lesson, when we was dealing with the iamic nature of Christ, just to show you how micro movements,
Mhm.
some 10 to 15 years later, when I'm doing IAMs and the Chopra certification for my meditation, it all crystallized. I was like, oh, because when we were doing it in theology, we were looking outward.
Yeah. Inwards. Yeah.
At Christ the person or the fictitious person, whatever. How so I'm past that. If you don't believe in me, you don't believe in what I said. It doesn't matter. But historically, we can take that book,
Mhm.
look at that, and now when 15, maybe 20 years later, it was 15 years, I'm doing the I am, and all of
Mm.
those lessons. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I do a lot of preaching myself, spiritual lessons. I've got a
Yeah.
whole following on that one, but I don't remember the exact phrase. But in Bible, I think it's in one of the John's thing that it says, "As you think, so should
So
happen."
yeah,
Right? I mean, that is so deep. If you are on autopilot, you have lost your capability to think.
to think. Yeah, yeah.
Right? If you have lost the capability to think, how can you imagine outcomes?
Yeah.
If
The system is sorry. The system that we live in is created to suck out the imagination.
yeah, yeah, and even if you go back, and I tell people, if you get ever in your life to become a true leader, one book you have to read is the 21 Laws of Leadership, and in that, just read the first law of lead, right? And I say that is so basic to humanity, right? As you think, so shall happen.
As such as a man thinketh, so shall he be.
Mhm. And then if you're spending 20 hours a day telling yourself you're not worth it, you're not going to get it, everything is bad, what is going to happen? You're just writing your own future.
Yeah. Because the subconscious mind is going to run on autopilot
Mhm.
and give you your
What you're
self-thought. So
So one quick thing I'll tell.
No, okay. I'm sorry.
People go through my workshop and they start meditating, and then they'll come back. Hey, I have done all this meditation, but nothing is happening. I said, no, it is not important for the hours you sat down.
Future.
It matters after that, every breath that you're taking, what you're doing.
You know, it's funny, Singh, and then because you're the practitioner, and you can tell my audience what happened to me. So
Mm-hmm.
I teach breath work.
Mm-hmm.
I start by 4x4, but I move to 6x6,
Okay.
trying to get people to 8, 8,
Mm-hmm.
8, 8. Because the body, so my first introduction to breath work was to Pakwa,
Mm-hmm.
and we just hold our breath so that the pores can open up
Right.
and breathe forwards.
Mm-hmm.
When you start to hold your breath for a certain amount of time, your heart rate increases, everything starts to happen, you get nervous, and then there's a sense of calm that once you push past that. Some people can't push past the craziness and the nervousness.
Right. And that's why I start always with the small
This
four
month,
count breath. So you brought something important, and like I'm always about giving, right? I'm always giving out tools to people free of cost. I mean, they don't have to come to my seminars and webinars. So I'll give another one, right? So people talk about manifestation, right? There's a
hate that word. They say they doing it wrong. But go ahead.
right. So I don't use the word manifestation, but I tell them, if you really want an answer of something that you are immensely involved in and worried about, you have to do only one thing. Any activity that you're doing, hopefully you're not driving at that time, but walking, sitting, lying down, whatever, take normal breaths, right? And for 10, 15 seconds, and take a deep breath and hold as long as you can. And then slowly release it and again hold your breath. What is happening? I talked about the senses earlier, right? The brain is always waiting for oxygen. The moment you cut that oxygen unexpectedly, right? Unexpectedly, you're not doing any exercise, you're not doing anything that the brain is saying, okay, I'm expecting this. You are normally breathing and suddenly you stop it. Brain goes into fight and flight mode for itself and says, I will give you whatever you want. So all it is doing is the thought that you have for which you're wanting answers, it's looking at its entire data it has collected in your lifetime and tells you an answer. I know it's very deep.
No, that's good because that's exactly what I'm saying. When you start holding your breath, but most people can't push past their fight. Like
4, 6, yeah. 6 to 8, 8 to 12.
they can't push past it because they start to get nervous. Nothing's going to happen. It's only going to better you, right? So we start with the micro. The micro is for the box. Box.
Mm-hmm.
Go get the book. What's the name of the book, Singh? Sorry.
Ascendancy Awakened.
All of
Ascendancy Awakened.
all of the information is in our description. Hit the link in the description. So I don't know if you noticed, like in our description, it has the thing, and then when I introduce the guest, there's a line under it. That line will take you to the website. The website will take you to the book.
Go.
Book will take you to all of Singh's social media. The social media will bring you into Singh's ecosphere. What happens is whoever you listen to, we just talked about that, whatever you read gets into the senses.
Mm-hmm.
Then it starts practicing and rehearsing.
Right.
I can tell you by your algorithms what you into, but that's a whole nother story.
That's it.
We have conversations that evolve lives. Singh, thank you for coming on. He's now a part of the Walk in Victory family. I only ask that you hit like and subscribe. We don't ask for cash apps, Venmos. We just gave you a whole wealth of knowledge. Your like, your subscription, your comments, whether you go on our walkingvictory.me page or Apple or Spotify, who allows you to leave comments. It helps these conversations get to people that need it.
Right.
That's your currency to me.
Mm-hmm. And my target for 2025, my personal goal for 2025 is to get 1 minute mindful micro practice to 250,000 people. So every person that you can share with, every person adds to that count of 250,000. So I'll sincerely appreciate you guys passing it on to others. Everyone needs a minute of mindful practice.
A minute of mindful practice. All right, so I'm going to put you on the spot, Singh. I want you to come back and we'll work through. This will be a working.
Mhm.
We'll do a session because your sessions are micro.
It's not. Oh, yeah.
So if you're listening, we're going to do that. We're going to work it out. I'm putting them on alarm right now while it's still on. and we'll work through so that people can
learn.
And you can watch my full experience. I'll give you how I'm feeling, and I'm going to be totally honest. When I come in, when I come out, I'm going to follow the structures. So you'll have a real working understanding because he has stuff that he can share with you, but you need to hear it from
people who are accepting, people experiencing it. Absolutely.
Yes, while I'm experiencing, I want you to hear because Singh gives. Singh is a man of accountability, and as you know, he's a man of knowledge. Enjoy the rest of your day. Don't walk making excuses. You only need 1 minute to change your life. Don't walk breathing through your mouth because when you breathe through your mouth, you bring disease into your body. The nose have hairs for a reason. As we get older, the hairs get longer because we need more filter. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.